All right, hey everyone, I'm back. I'm your host, UEFA certified Corona sub. Because the reason I'm sweating, if you can see it through my t-shirt, is because I've been subbing for everybody. UEFA has certified me. I'm the first official UEFA sub for every tournament. So I was subbing for Venezuela because every team member pretty much died because of Corona. So I also had Corona, but they're like, okay, as long as you're alive, you can play. So I was the only person playing, and we lost like 17-0, but it's okay. It was Brazil. We were always going to lose 17-0. Then I had to run down to Germany in the 83rd minute, took a flight. Then after that, they said no more money, so I had to run, no taxi. I was running, and then I had to motivate Germany. Goretzka was like, come on, come on, come on. And then he finally scored, and they somehow qualified. All right, let's talk about less about me and about this Euro. It's been crazy, crazy Euro. Harry Kane has been the worst £100 million striker with 0 goals. Germans, Italians, and the Dutch have shown all the haters middle finger and naked, hairy butt cheeks. The Danes have played with the hearts and guts of a Scottish warrior, not right now, the old ones. Spanish have cured insomnia with their tiki-taka board fest. Croatians and Welsh showed that they're not yesterday's hot news like Eden Hazard is. Portuguese showed how to concede 4 goals within 20 minutes to a team who hasn't scored for a while. Dubravka showed great commitment to score an own goal, and our in-house pundit, reincarnated Paul the Octopus, got more predictions wrong than the ESPN pundits got answers correct on the IQ test they gave for toddlers. Alright, that's a good start for us. And let's talk about the knockouts straight away. First one is on 26 June, India time 9:30, Wales versus Denmark. Lal, you and I gave Wales absolutely 0 chance, and Denmark were pretty much dead and buried, and they rose from their proverbial ashes to make to the knockout stages. Now, the combination of Eriksson incident and how Denmark responded in the next 2 matches literally made Denmark everybody's sweetheart team. Barring the team they're playing against, every human on the planet is cheering for Denmark right now. Do you think Denmark now have become the hot favorites for this specific match against Wales? Or are we getting just too carried away, just the way bookies get carried away with England?
Well, I think it's a very good human story. I think sports brings out like the most awesome human stories. Denmark story in this tournament is like that, and everyone supports them. Like if your country is not playing, then you root for Denmark. As far as this specific match is concerned, I think it's going to be a very, very interesting contest. It's very difficult to predict, but I would think, I gave Wales no chance to qualify, but I was proven wrong. Turkey really disappointed me, but I think now they're here. I would still think Denmark might just
hit. Did you say Turkey?
It, but yep. Turkey were the biggest flops, right? Of the
tournament. Okay.
Really,
yeah, sorry.
Yeah, and I think and Wales kind of took me by surprise instead of them, and I think it will be a close match. But I would, edge it towards Denmark just slightly. Maybe they'll win by an odd goal.
Okay, and you want them to win just like everybody else?
Yes.
Unless you have wager on Wales. Otherwise, I can't really see anybody.
No, I don't.
So I would also like Denmark to win, but again, I'm very unemotional about this. So whoever plays better should win. But generally, for some reason, I've had a little bit negativity towards this guy called Bale, and I've been just shitting all over him. So he hasn't played that great, but people say he's played great. But I'm like, he missed the fucking penalty, and not like hit the post or something. He just like flew away, like wherever. I don't know where he was hitting in the stand.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's been good. So if they win, it's fine. I think whoever deserves to win gets through. Now the next match, if we come on to, it's Italy versus Austria. Now Italy have been absolutely brilliant. My stats say that they've won 30 matches on a row, haven't conceded a goal in 1000 minutes, 11 matches. Mancini's Italy has exceeded all expectations. Do you think these Italian stallions are bound to go all the way in this Euro? And also this match, obviously.
I think I'm not sure about all the way in the tournament, but in this match, yes. Mancini's men have really, taken everyone by I would not call it surprise, but they have exceeded expectations of even the most hardcore Italian fans, and they have been really, breath of fresh air. So yeah, in this match, I think Italy, is the favorite team to win. If I was a betting man, I would put my money on Italy.
Yeah, you're not going to make much money, right?
The only issue is with Italy. The only caveat is, have they peaked too early in the tournament? In a tournament like this, it's always better. You've seen over the years teams who start slowly gain momentum and get better to the road to the finals. Now, I don't know how much Italians can better this. If they have an odd day off, it'll be heartbreaking. I want them to, progress. But yeah, I mean, anything can happen. But in this match, I mean, my heart and my head both say Italy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been weird what you just said, that, I've been watching football for 20 years, and whenever I see a big tournament, it's always the hot favorites never win. And even if somebody is hot favorite, they don't play very well and eventually might win. So it's always very difficult. We were shitting all over England, but they still top their group, right? At the end of the day, France, people think hot favorite, they got like 5 points out of the group, and it's not like, and they dropped points against fucking Hungary and against Portugal. They shouldn't have dropped, and they got the free penalty also against Portugal. So it's not like they were playing some amazing football. So anything can change. People are like saying, oh, because they're in second gear. So if Germany doesn't play, all the ESPN pundits, they're shit. But if France does not play, oh, they're just in the second gear. I just love the hypocrisy of these idiots. That's why they're giving all these toddler IQ tests. All right, let's move on. One of my favorite teams, which I've always had a soft spot for, Netherlands. And now everybody knows that Frank de Boer, who's their coach, was criticized, or has been continually criticized since he took over Ronald Koeman. Ronald Koeman went to Barcelona. For his particular 3-5-2 formation, which is not the traditional formation Holland plays, which is 4-3-3. I believe that's what they play always, and which always works. And because this wasn't working so well, and he was also called the worst coach, not for Netherlands, but in the history of football. And still, Netherlands top the groups. Now all the naysayers in ESPN are saying that because their group is easy and blah 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 nonsense. Do you think Holland's group dominance is just a mirage, or Czech Republic, which you had completely written off, will call curtains on Holland in pre-quarterfinals? Or how far do you think Netherlands go, and what is your take on them?
It's a very I think the Dutch would be overjoyed by their team's performance in the group stages. I mean, kudos to them, they've played well. You're right, Frank de Boer was under immense pressure before the tournament, heavily criticized. I think more than the formation, the issue was with the personnel. I mean, no one considers, or no one takes Wout Weghorst, who is one of the two up front, as a genuine striker. But I mean, to be very honest, in this match, I would still favor the Dutch. They have more big tournament experience as compared to the Czechs, and their path to final, to be very honest, if Netherlands would have chosen a path to the finals, I think this would be their path. We'll talk about it, but I think I have high hopes from the Dutch. They may not win the tournament, but I think they will go deep.
Yeah, but do not take it lightly. Just the way the Danes have been inspired by Eriksen episode, the Czech have been inspired right now by your vitriolic comments against them and writing them off, and they've been reading it. They've taken printouts, they've been put the audios, and they've been listening to you, and that's how they're getting inspired. So I won't be surprised if you will be an inspiration enough, and you can be. Yeah. But if Czech do win, they deserve it at the end of the day. But yeah, it'll be a fucking mess that if Netherlands can't beat Czech Republic. And Netherlands, because after all that missing out in Euro and also World Cup, right? It's been difficult time over the last few years after they made the World Cup final and they lost against Germany, right? So now moving on to Belgium and Portugal. Very hot ticket match, man.
Yeah,
this is a hot ticket match.
This is the big match in the round. Yeah.
So I think Belgium, awesome. Yeah, this is going to be awesome, right? So Belgium did exactly what everyone expected them to win all three matches, top their group. I really hope they go all the way to the grand final. It's Belgium's time. I know they still have the next year's World Cup. I definitely feel they have the firepower, but they can be put under a tosh and under the pump. Good to see De Bruyne and Hazard back as well. De Bruyne was definitely very good. And I told you before as well that I had this weird feeling that Portuguese squad is really solid, but they'll falter. I think they're playing too many players. I mean, there is a question about they're putting too many players in the front, the Fernandez, Ronaldo, and all this attacking, but they're not really using them, which is creating much more problems for them. And they don't want to drop any of them. Sometimes you need to make a hard decision. But they were playing really crappy in 2016 and they won. Do you think they can still pull out another rabbit out of their hat and knock Belgium out of the cup, which will be a pity, but one of these teams have to go out. So
yeah, it's going to be a pity that one of the teams will go out at this stage. This would have been an ideal semi-final if you ask me. But I mean, it is a tie at this stage. What I think is, I mean, there is an immense array of talent on show in this match. Let's talk about Belgium first, right? If Lukaku, Hazard, and De Bruyne are in top gear, then I mean, oh my God, Belgium can beat anyone on their day. And for Portugal, they are caught in no man's land. Like in 2016, a solid defensive, pragmatic approach won them the title. This year, they have so many talented attacking players that they don't know whether to attack or whether to defend. Like, should they stick to their identity or should they allow their talented players to, play and dictate terms? And that's where I think they've been caught off guard a little bit. But I think in the knockouts, they will play to their strengths. You saw like this match, Bruno Fernandes was dropped to the bench, and I think they will take a little bit of their old pragmatic approach, and that I think will give them a little bit of an edge over Belgium. Belgium, unfortunately, like have been tournament favorites for the past I think 5 years now. Unfortunately, they've not done anything big on international stage. So there is always this fear with Belgium. Will they choke? Will they choke again? And Portugal have big match experience, big tournament experience, and they have experienced players. So it's going to be interesting. I don't know what will be the outcome of this match. My mind says Belgium, but my heart says Portugal. So I'm torn.
Yeah, I'm not going to pick any of these things because I mean it's more tormenting than my experience going to China with this hair and people just confusing me for Marouane Fellaini and all the autographs I gave all these people. It's just like my hand has been tired for the last 2 years. All the autograph for Marouane Fellaini. I told them I'm 5'7". That guy's like 6'7". I'm not Marouane Fellaini. He's like, no, it's fine. They were like, you are Marouane Fellaini of the poor people. So yeah, I'm not picking any team. I just don't know which team's gonna show up because I think both teams are vulnerable. On paper, on talent, yeah. I would definitely pick Belgium, or not outright, but definitely yes, because it's a team balance as well. Because Portugal has too many attacking players, they don't know what to do with them. Then let's move on to Croatia. And till the last moment, we did not know Croatia will qualify. In the first half, they took the lead, so we knew against Scotland they will get through. But then Scotland equalized their first goal in 23 goddamn years. But then came Luka Modric. Everybody's talking about the outside the boot curled into the top left corner of the goal. It was so delicious, more delicious than anything I've ever eaten in my life. Now, all ESPN pundits have written off Croatia like Indians have written off Modi's promise of Achhe Din. But Croatia is still alive, and now they have a genuine chance of making it to the quarterfinals because Spain did score 5 goals against these Slovaks. But it all started because of Dubravka nonsense. I mean, after he had saved that penalty, which was like he was the hero, and then I don't know what he did. He just like brought it back, and it reminded me of that goal, if you remember, which who is England's goalkeeper? That crazy guy,
Pickford.
Pickford. So against Liverpool, he did that screw up, the similar screw up. The ball went in the air, and he jumped and he put it back in. It reminded me of Pickford's era that time. So I will not be surprised if Spain again don't show up because Moreno has missed a penalty, Morata has missed a penalty. I don't know. I just don't know anything about this Spain team. I don't want to rely too much on the 5-0 win against Slovakia because I think they eventually got that first goal which was just given to them like all the way. And yeah, I won't be surprised Croatia beats them. Croatia was already in the World Cup final last time. So yeah.
It's a match of two slow starters, right? Croatia were really poor in the first two matches in their group, and they only lit up in the last match where Modric and Perisic showed their class. So, unfortunately, Croatia are dependent on Modric and Perisic being on top of their game. If one of them is having an off day, they don't have too much firepower or quality to call upon. Spain, on the other hand, on paper at least they have quality to call upon. So, I mean, logically speaking, I would still lean towards Spain. Both teams have disappointed in the group. Only both teams performed well only in the last match where they had to perform, or otherwise they would have been knocked out. So evenly matched in terms of form and confidence, but in terms of quality, I would say Spain. I mean, that's what I would argue, I guess.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's just on paper, it's different. It's just on Spain hasn't looked good at all. I mean, I'm not an expert when it comes to tactics or strategy or technicality in football, but I still feel like Enrique, and might sound ridiculous, I want him to continue with that Morata-Moreno against Croatia as well. But I still want the Torres has to be involved massively. I mean, if you remember that Torres comes on, within a minute he scores. I mean,
Yeah.
That can happen. But I'm just saying that these two players, because if he's invested in them, keep the confidence, they should come good. And if they do come good against Croatia, this is not like the most difficult team ever. If they win this, they can actually move forward. Those two players, I mean, eventually, law of averages, they have to come good, right? They have to come good.
Morata reminds me of Timo Werner at this stage. Both of them can't score even in an open goal.
Oh yeah. Just before Goretzka scored, right? Timo Werner took the shot. He was just like, if you notice, I was watching it in slow motion. I was like, this guy is like, he just didn't care. He just wanted to bang the ball. Boom. He just banged the ball. Luckily, it hit the defender. Comes back to Goretzka. Goretzka, okay, I know what I'm doing. He does the nutmeg or something and he just scores. But yeah, this guy just whacked it like a defender. He's just completely clueless. So yeah, you're right. We don't even know which one is better, but they should actually spend time together and after the matches and talk about what the hell is going on in their life. So let's move on to the hot favorites, France versus Switzerland. Now I'm going to do a little bit bitching here. I still can't understand how on earth, who makes these groups where the last two world champions, defending Euro champions, and if that's just already ridiculous, then they have Hungary, who like topped their group in last Euro, and they were so ridiculously difficult. They drew against France, they drew against Germany. Both of them they had under a Tosh. They were leading, which is crazy. Like, look at this group, it's crazy. Like, it's completely crazy. Like, it's just stupidest group ever. All right, of all the hype, France only ends up beating Germany. That's the only team they beat with an own goal by Mats Hummels, who was just probably taking revenge on Joachim Low. And then they draw against Hungary, they draw against Portugal. I mean, the screw up against Hungary was a reality check, but again, the next match, they're not that good anyway. They haven't lived up to their billing, and people keep saying that in the second gear, all that blah 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 nonsense. But if they lose against Switzerland, which both of us had completely written off, we just have given them no love at all. But I will not be absolutely I will not say that France can't lose. I will not say. If Switzerland comes across as their old defense and they just block and get a goal somehow, or even if they don't get a goal, they can go to penalties or whatever. It's not a foregone conclusion. I mean, obviously France is hot favorite in this game, but it's not a foregone conclusion. And whatever people are saying second gear, how do I know they'll come back into the third or fourth gear in this match automatically?
It's like what you said, right? Even like hot favorites never win, end up winning the whole tournament. France are hot favorites, but they're not playing like hot favorites. So to my mind, I think if they were playing like hot favorites, I would say, okay, an odd hiccup is coming around, in the knockout rounds. But I tend to believe that they are in their second or third gear. I mean, it's just insane the kind of quality that they have. Look at the top six. I mean, it's just insane amount of riches, and they have a good defense as well. So, I mean, I give Switzerland no chance. I know you are saying anything can happen, but I think I'm going to stick my neck out and say I think Switzerland have no chance here. I mean, oh my God, if they win or if France crash out, it'll be it'll be like the biggest, upset in a long time.
Oh, it will be, right? That's I'm just cheering on the Swiss. I have a lot of money in the back account, $75. They're like, why do we have it? Because I support them. That's why. Okay, next game is obviously England and Germany, but I want to come back to do that at the very end with a bang. So let's talk about that match. Probably not a lot of people are caring about Sweden versus Ukraine. It's in Glasgow, Scotland, which is another very bad shit to do because now they're in Scotland and people are like, oh, I don't want to go and watch these idiots. So in Glasgow, so Sweden did top their group, and the last match was exhilarating. They went 2-1 up against Poland, and Poland was like all gone and done and dusted. Lewandowski scores a brace and brilliant 2 goals, and then Ukraine have both looked good and ordinary and just very pedestrian. Now I think this is Sweden's big chance to advance to the quarterfinals. And do you think Ukraine can still beat Sweden? I mean, this can be a good game for neutrals.
This will be a good game for neutrals. I think both teams have a way of playing, and both teams have their strengths. Sweden are very, very defensively solid, well organized. Ukraine have a couple of good attacking players who can unlock defenses. It's going to be an interesting match, but again, it's going to be very hard to predict again in these two, between these two. But I would still give slight advantage to Sweden. And yeah, but Ukraine,
heart. Tell me your heart. Whosoever is supporting us, support the opposite team, so I can rub it in once
I support Sweden.
Yes, okay, Ukraine then. I've always supported Sweden. I've always supported Scandinavian countries and Sweden for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't remember. But right now, because you're doing this, I'm becoming Ukraine. I'm the Ukraine. I'm like, I'll lift everything, throw everything on the floor. Okay, let's come back to the final match. Germany versus England. I think this is for us at least. Although we knew the Portugal-Belgium match is massive, but for us, I think we have to say that this is the game,
yes.
Right? And
yes.
I was very happy with Germany after going 1 goal down against Portugal. They scored 4 unanswered goals. Germany came out flying. It was like I felt like they were like the Hollywood Bayern Munich that day, all guns blazing. Surely Germans still need to show up big time in the big time game against England. But let's talk a little bit about Bookie's favorite child. I keep saying that, England. Now a fun fact is there. You want to put a comment on this later if you can. But Ben Chilwell and Mason Mount are self-isolating, and they're isolating till 28th, and the match is on 29th. So I don't know how they'll play. They're training individually. Now, because it happened because they were chilling with Billy Gilmore, who had tested positive. Oddly, the entire Scotland squad, which was also chilling with Billy Gilmore, none of them, and all of them played against Croatia. This is just absolute bullcrap.
Yeah.
That's just insane, right? Because they don't have a choice. What do they do? We don't play, like they have to play, right? So it's like an internal decision. Okay, you sit out because we don't really want you. So this is crazy. You're like, what just happened? I know. One of the players also commented on this thing. One of the English players, I'm forgetting his name. So my conspiracy theory. Also, if you watch that match, England's last match, what happened? The first half they played really, really well against Czech, and the second half they switched off. I had a conspiracy theory, and we both believe they were trying to avoid certain teams. So they were happy that if Czech concede, they score, and the Czech will top the group. Not be the worst result for them, and they were okay with that, because as long as they don't lose and people don't shit all over them, momentum doesn't go away, they were okay. That was my conspiracy theory. There are 2 points, and last point is I have never ever seen England play like a champion in a big tournament. I am going micro, even in a goddamn match, full match, and I'll go as far as saying that English simply don't have the fucking DNA of champions. They don't have the balls. They couldn't break the shackles any of the 3 group matches. I don't know how on earth will they break the shackles when the stakes are super high in the knockout stages. The silver lining is they are yet to concede. I recognize that, but in all fairness, I don't see England going any further. Football isn't coming home. The English are staying home exactly where they are, and Germans are coming them and destroying them like they destroyed the fucking Portuguese. So over to you, these 3 freaking questions about England, the fun fact about isolation, and the goddamn conspiracy theory.
Yeah, that isolation was a joke. I think these English medical experts live, I think, in their own bubble, or the Scottish live in their own bubble. One of the two. Like it's absolutely ridiculous.
Scottish don't care.
Yeah, they don't care.
They'll put people with cancer on.
And I'll be fine.
You'll have concussion.
I
Go,
have
go,
my
like,
scotch.
yeah, will have some Scotch
It's just-
concussion. He's like, your arm came off. Like, don't worry, don't play with arms. You play with legs. Go, go, go in.
yeah, it's just insane. So, and coming to the conspiracy theory, I also had my doubts, but then to counter that conspiracy theory, the winner, the team which topped the group would have the chance to play at Wembley. So, do you want to meet a lesser team at a neutral location, or you want to meet a better team at Wembley? So it was kind of hard for England to, choose. It's between those two options, and I guess they chose
45,000. 45,000
45,000
approved. Yeah, approved. Yeah, for this one. Yeah.
So and I think coming to the match, okay, now people can say, oh, England are solid defensively, not conceding any goal. I mean, it'll be tragic if they concede their first goal and they get knocked out.
That can happen, right?
Crazy.
So suck on that, right?
Yeah. And plus, so the Germans' weakness, okay, has been. I mean, I think I said that in our preview show. For Germany, I don't fear their attack. I think their biggest weakness is their defense. Hummels is too slow. I'm so thankful that he's not playing Emre Can in the back three. So that I think is good. But I think Hummels does not have pace anymore. So, but it does not hurt Germany because the English are not attacking. They are priding themselves on their defensive prowess. So I don't think Germany will be too like, oh, we'll be scared of England. So I think going into the match, England have probably no momentum. Germany, I mean, again, I would not say Germany have big momentum coming into the match, but maybe it'll help Germany playing away from home. They were in Munich all the time. The crowd, like usually Germans really do well at home. Somehow the crowd was not as boisterous as it usually is. Maybe it'll just help them clear their heads and play at Wembley away from home. English players will be under tremendous pressure from 45,000 people in the stadium, media. So I think I would pick Germany in this match. And if they win, then I think given the way the draws are set out, they have a good path to the final with only the Dutch probably challenging them.
Okay, but hasn't Germany been England's bogey team? Like Germany has beaten and kicked them out in so many tournaments.
I think Germany has been a bogey team for most teams, hasn't it? Because they always do well in tournaments, always. Like the last tournament was an exception, but apart from that, you pick up last 30-40 years, they always do well in tournaments. They always at least make semi-finals. So I think they are a bogey team for a lot of countries.
For also England, because
more so for England, yeah.
Correct,
So
and also because Gary Lineker, I think, had said some quote like long time ago, which has been popular until the last World Cup. He said he would say this will happen, this will happen, this will happen. They will play well, and Germany will win. That's everything will end with this thing. England is doing, Spain is doing, and Germany will win. So that's how this quote used to go. Like no matter what happens, the Germans fucking win at the end of the day. So all right. So I gave a lot of trash to our in-house pundit. But to be very frank, if you listen to our podcast and listen to ESPN pundits, at the end, even at his worst, he's still better than ESPN pundits who get paid so much money and he's not even getting paid. I'm paying him in walnuts, which I've still not given him, and walnuts have expired in the transit because of coronavirus, but he'll still eat them because we are Indians. Walnuts will come eventually. I think the ball will definitely show up. Maybe the nuts might never show up. And I think maybe you are also like the France. You're just warming up, and now all your predictions will start to come true. Although I did feel you were still a bit conservative with choosing France against it's a lowly Switzerland. So, but yeah, fair enough. Like a little bit conservatism is fine. So your name is changing constantly, Predictor Paul, but people know who you are. You are the reincarnated Paul, the old one, the one who got 90% right, 93% prediction rate right. So that was wonderful. So we'll be back very soon. Let's see a couple of matches and see how it goes. And let's see if there's any more upsets. And I won't be surprised if there aren't any. There are more. And I think we all love these surprises. And if England crashes out, But that's still a few days to go. But let's look forward to the next few matches, and I'm really looking forward to it. Although it's a bit of a lull because it takes a lot of time because we're so used to multiple matches in the same day. But boy, yesterday was exciting, and I'm sure it will be exciting as well. And let's see,
Business
the teams
end
will
of the
deserve.
tournament.
Yeah. End of the tournament, and whatever happens, if Harry Kane, please score a goddamn goal, and I hope England still loses. So both teams comes through, you're paying 100 freaking million. So that's another podcast we have to do about all the transfers that's happening with your favorite Jadon Sancho. Eventually, I think they've offered them 77 plus all these bonuses, and 77 million pound we're talking about, not
Will he
rupees.
play against Germany? I think I'm more concerned about that right now.
Yeah, I don't know if you have any word on that. I never asked you, but that's been a great controversy that anybody comes on, but he doesn't come on. And it's like people Southgate doesn't like him.
Yeah, there is a conspiracy theory. He's paying the price because he's not playing in the Premier League. He's not getting enough game time.
That's what, but that's
Southgate
like,
doesn't trust him, basically. I think.
yeah, that's the one, because
serious-
correlation, is not causation, right?
Southgate,
Correlation is not causation.
Does not have. Southgate will play Sterling like till the time he dies, because simply because he trusts him.
Okay, the final word I'll say, I never said this, I wanted to come clean because I think you always support him, and you had sent message to Southgate, take him, but then Southgate messaged me, it's like, Lara sent me this message, what do you think? I was like, I don't like Sancho. He's like, that's what I was saying. So then he just like overruled you, because I'm not a big fan of Sancho, and if Sancho is bought by Manchester United, he better score 37 goals every half season, then only I'll be satisfied. So 74 goals a season, that's what I want from this guy. All right. Thanks, Lal, again, and I'm sure most of your predictions will come true. Even if they don't, we will still keep bashing you and thanking you at the same time. That's how we are. Very paradoxical people. Take care. Have a good evening.
All right.
And
take
have
care.
have a good day
Bye.
and rest of the week. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.